We'll start the lecture soon, so please turn on your camera. Once again, we will start the lecture soon, so please turn on your camera. Okay, good morning all. Thank you for attending our lecture, even though it has to be done on Saturday. I know that you probably have better things to do on Saturday rather than attending lecture. I have decided for this particular lecture and also our lecture on Monday, it will be done using Microsoft Teams online. So you don't need to go to campus on Monday to attend because I'm still under self-quarantine and I'm not allowed to enter the campus under my current condition. So I have decided to conduct online class. Okay, so we will meet in person again a week after Monday. Okay. Okay. Next, thank you for submitting your assignment on time. It is good, and I expect that all future assignment will also be submitted on time. Okay. Now, today we will have a topic about business process and also enterprise resource planning. Okay. And we'll start with automatization of business process. In your first assignment, you already seen how Amazon replacing human cashier in their convenience store. I don't know if Amazon can be called a supermarket. They certainly do. And that video was released just a moment before Amazon actually launching their cashierless shops. It's called Amazon Go. A few weeks after that video released on YouTube, Amazon actually opened physical store. And if I'm not mistaken, the number is growing. Okay, and if you look at the process of how a customer shop in Amazon stores, principally it's not that different from conventional supermarket. Customer enter the supermarket, pick up the product that he or she want to buy, some hesitation maybe relating to certain product, but then they fill the shopping basket and then they check out. The difference between traditional or conventional supermarket with Amazon Go is, with Amazon Go, we don't need actual checkout. The computer system with all the camera inside Amazon Go will already record and calculate all the products that we put into our shopping cart. Okay, and when the customer leaves the stores, it's immediately being charged and his or her account immediately being charged, and then from that account, the money to pay for the groceries will be transferred to Amazon. Sorry. So that's the process. The basic process, the principle is still the same. You tap into a store, pick up anything you want, you walk out and pay for the products that you carry. Okay. However, there are nobody there to pick up the products, scan the products, and pack the products. Okay. And that's actually not really what do you call an advance, a sudden change in supermarket technology, if you will, because in the last 10 years or so, many supermarket, especially in the Western countries, already adopted self-checkout. Have you ever been to a supermarket with self-checkout? Any of you? William? No?
Yes, I think, but it's not in Indonesian, sir.
Okay, where is it?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, in Singapore.
Okay, yes, in Singapore, some of the first time I've seen this self-checkout supermarket was in Australia. Okay, both Sydney and Melbourne, and then the other was in Netherlands, and obviously Singapore. So if let me share this pictures. So, well, more or less just like this. Okay, you have screen that tells you, what's the promotion, what's the discount, and also what's the product that you already scanned. You have this scanner here. It's also a weighing station. So if you pick up, some fruit or vegetables or something that need to be weighed in, it's already have skill in that. So you just need to select the appropriate product. Sometimes they can identify the product by using camera somewhere here. Okay, and then after you finish, checking out and also packing the items, there will be amount to pay here, and you pay using card, and the receipt will be printed from here. Okay, so in a sense, it's similar to Amazon Go, but just in Amazon Go, you don't have to deal with, scanning the product one by one, but the scanning has been done using more advanced technology, artificial intelligence technology, using camera to scan the product, to capture the picture of the product, and then calculate the amount to be paid. Yeah, so that's the future. And my personal opinion, let me ask you this, in your personal opinion, which one do you prefer, Stefania? Do you prefer traditional supermarket or the one that having self-checkout or automatic checkout like Amazon?
I think I prefer the self-checkout because there will no antrian, sir.
Okay.
So I don't have to wait long.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, that was not the case because in Indonesia it doesn't really. I have never found any supermarket in Indonesia having self-checkout, but there was a queue when I was in Melbourne, when I was in Sydney, and also Singapore. There was a queue. It's so much less in Netherlands, but that I guess because the people in Netherlands are less populated than Australia or Singapore. Okay, but there is a queue. Okay. You don't like the self-checkout? You don't like Amazon Go style? Stefania?
I think it's good. Also good, the Amazon style.
Okay. Okay, good. Oh, my personal opinion, I'm really in favor of any technology that can help human. that can put human or that can help human to be better. Okay. And I tend to agree, or I tend to be in favor of Amazon model, not because I like technology, but because in my opinion, supermarket cashier is one of the profession that's really inhuman. Why? If you work as supermarket cashier, first you need to stand on your feet for a few hours. And that's really, really exhausting. Okay. You have to be very careful and yet need to be fast in your work to scan the product, and calculating all that, dealing with discount, dealing with payment, things like that. Not to mention, there is a potential of you being abused by customer. Okay, customer yells at you, saying nasty things to cashier just because, So if a cashier being replaced, and working as cashier is not really a high-paying job, So when I was still studying, a few of my friends actually working as cashier just to get additional money. And even though they working like 8 hours, 10 hours, they work on weekend, the money is not that good. Okay, that's why I really glad that we as society finally start to remove or decrease inhuman job like supermarket cashier. Another job that has been replaced by technology is the toll booth attendant. Okay. Many years ago, if you go through a toll road on toll gates, you have to pay for toll and hand it your payment to a person. Okay. Imagine that you work under such harsh condition. It's very hot and a lot of vehicles coming through with all the pollution. You are exposed to inhuman condition again. I'll emphasize this inhuman condition. And working in toll booths is actually not healthy. And believe it or not, I had inside information from one of the auditor for the big four audit companies in Indonesia. This auditor was at that time was asked to audit Jasa Marga, the company that managed toll roads in Indonesia at the time. And this auditor said to me that if they find discrepancies between the record and cash in each toll gate up to 100 million rupiah, remember, just one toll gate, 100 million rupiah, they will ignore it. Why? Because 100 million rupiah is not significant. So you can imagine why the government and also Jasa Marga pushing for electronic payment now. Because with human handling cash, there will be problems. We will discuss this later when we discuss about control. But cash and also humans together is a recipe for problems. And 100 millions per toll gate considered as insignificant. So yeah, that's now that we use electronic payment, it can really alleviate the problem. Okay, so yeah, that's your futures. That's what you would see in the few years. in the futures, some works that can be replaced by machine will be done by machine. Okay, and so far I've seen that a lot of company using technology for replacing human. They actually replacing inhuman works. Okay. So what happened to the supermarket cashier that losing their jobs because replaced by machine? In my opinion, they were given a chance to upgrade themselves, and then to work better, to work in environments that better for human, and also the toll booth attendance. Okay, let's start our topic today, which is the overview of transaction processing and enterprise resource planning. Can you see the slide?
Yes.
Okay, is it visible, right? Okay, now, just to remind you about the data processing cycles, every transaction is started with data being inputted into the system. Be it the system is manual or automated, computerized, doesn't really matter. Okay. With manual system, you'll have paper data input. Okay, just like what you did in Introduction to Accounting last semester. You have a transaction, and then you need to process that transaction into journals to the ledger, and so on and so forth. And then there will be data storage, and there will be information output. Okay, let's start. So data input, the step in processing input are to capture transaction data triggered by business activity or event. It can be in form of sales, purchase, payment of salary, payment of receivable, cash receipt from payable, things like that. And we need to make sure that all the data being captured are accurate and complete. Now, each company or each organization will have different definition on what are the complete and accurate data means. For example, in completeness, 7-Eleven in Japan capture weather data when they sell something. Okay, so they can make an accurate prediction. Say for spring season, what are the products need to be stocked up, and what are the products that need to be reduced or even eliminated during spring season, during summer, during winter, or during autumn. Okay, so they can have that. Other companies like the marketplace, Tokopedia, Buka, will record when customer visit their marketplace. What are the keywords being used for finding a product, or did the customer directly purchase a product, or did the customer browsing around first before making a purchase? Those are being recorded. Okay, that's not transaction data, but that's called interaction data. Later on, this data will be analyzed to determine what makes user that visiting the marketplace like Tokopedia, Bukalapak, or Shopee, that make that user change from just visiting to actually buying something. Okay, so they analyze this. Okay, it's not really a new practice because other industry has already employed this kind of analysis. Banking industry, for example, they will analyze their potential loan customer to decide whether or not to accept or to give this particular customer loan, and if it is, how much, and and the interest rate for that particular customer. Okay. Insurance company, they already did that for giving insurance for certain people. You know, maybe about 10 years ago. Yeah, about 10 years ago, I was admitted to ER in a hospital for pain on the left side of my back. Okay, the ER doctor diagnosed me with a heart attack. So they admitted me to heart attack intensive care unit. Okay. I was spending a night there, but then all the tests that doctor did to me clear me up. I didn't have heart attack. You know. Okay, so I paid using insurance for my dad. But then a few years later, in insurance, when I tried to open an insurance account for my daughter, I was rejected by the insurance company. My insurance company, they said that you were having heart attack a few years ago. It's too risky. And I said to them, no, I didn't have a heart attack. The doctor cleared me up. Okay, that's fine. Then you need to go to a cardiologist and get a clear bill of health. So I did. I went to a cardiologist. The doctor gave me some tests, including, you know, running on treadmill. And when the doctor sees all the test data, she said to me, no, you didn't have a heart attack. Your heart are clear. So I went to the insurance company. That's what insurance company did. They used capture data when I claim for hospital treatment, and they used that for deciding whether or not to accept my new insurance. So this kind of information being used all the time. It's just with the advance of technology, the type and amount of information that can be captured has been grown considerably. Okay. And it has to ensure the company policy of follow. For example, giving loan, giving insurance. You know, there are certain criteria from the company that need to be followed. Failure to follow that policy usually lead to bad credits or, you know, insurance fraud, things like that. We will discuss that later. Okay. So what are the data need to be captured? First, obviously, what are the activity that being recorded? Sales, purchase, payment, cash receipt, salary, or anything else. And then resources affected. In accounting term, what are the account being affected by this activity? Let me ask, do you still remember this, Michael? What are the journal for cash sales? You still remember?
Cost of goods sold and
Which part?
revenue.
Okay. Which part? Cost of goods sold on which side and revenue on which side? Cash
Cost of goods
sales.
Oh, cash sales.
Yeah.
Are we talking about the
Journal.
goods or the cash?
The journal for cash sales.
Cost of goods sold on debit and then revenue cash on credit.
Cash on credit. You sell something or you buy something. If you sell
revenue is-
something, the cash is always on debit side. So for cash sales, the journal would be cash on debit and sales on credit. Because you sell something and you receive cash. your cash is increasing. Okay. Look, don't overcomplicate things. Okay. If you face with exam or assignment question, read it carefully and try to keep it simple. Don't, if look, Michael, I understand your reasoning, but if you starting to involve cost of goods sold, okay, then we will go into another area that will make things complicated. But if you pay close attention to my question is, what are the journal for cash sales? The answer is already there. Cash sales. Okay, it's fine. Thank you for answering. Okay, so yeah, that's the account and also the event, and that's those two are already being discussed, and I think you already are familiar with that in introduction to accounting. However, the third part is not usually discussed in depth within accounting subjects, okay, financial accounting subject. The third information that need to be collected is people who participated in the activity. Not all people or every people could participate in that event or activity. If it's sales, the parties involved would be the customer and probably cashier. Okay. The staff in warehouse will not involve in that activity. Marketing director will not involve in that activity. Okay. And this is quite important. Why? Because later we will learn on different tasks and different responsibility for all the people who involved in a transaction. For example, if you look at again cashier in supermarket, if the cashier in the supermarket could not, or finding a problem, say for example, a product being scanned and there was a mistake in the information display. So if you scan banana, but then in front of your screen, it says instant noodles. The cashier could not fix that problem. Okay. Somebody else higher than the cashier could correct that problem. Or if the cashier made mistake, instead of key in 10 units, he or she key in 5 units. Okay. So what happened? The cashier could not correct that mistake by themselves. They have to ask for their supervisor to fix that mistake. So that's how different people will have different roles in a transaction. We will discuss that quite often in this course. Okay. So all the information came from the source document. Some documents in the past would be in form of paper. Okay, like when you receive invoice, or you receive a letter from Atmajaya stating how much money you need to pay to enroll in Atmajaya. Okay. But now a lot of data source being automated, capture using scanners, or in Amazon Go example, it will use camera backed up by artificial intelligence to identify where products being picked up by customer and put into the grocery bag. Okay. Data storage. All the data being inputted into the system need to be stored. In the old days, before the computerization, data will be stored in paper, on paper, in form of transaction journals, subsidiary ledgers, general ledgers, and chart of accounts. And we can trace all the document evidence, it's called the audit trail, from the transaction to the financial report. So if you look at financial report, for example, and you see sales of 1 billion rupiah, you can trace that sales 1 billion rupiah into the general ledger, then from general ledger to the journals, from the journals to the source document. Is there any invoice? Is there any cash receipt? Is there any other documents that support in particular date there were sales? Okay, and that's called audit trail. Nowadays, audit trail mostly were not in form of paper, but in form of electronic documents. So later on, when you enroll into auditing classes, you will learn how to verify a transaction. Okay. But for now, this is it. So I'll skip the coding techniques. Oh, data processing. Once the data being entered into the system, there are 4 types of processing. First is the C, from this acronym of CRUD, CRUD. C is for creating new record. For example, there is a new customer. There are new students that will join us this August, perhaps, or September. Okay, so your junior will join us later this year. New products that was not on the inventory before. And then reading existing data. So you probably want to know how many units are still in the warehouse. How much the price for a kilo of rice. Okay, things like that. And then updating previous record or data. Say, let's say cooking oil. There has been a sharp increase in cooking oil prices lately. So if you need to update the sale price for cooking oil, that should be reflected there. Or deleting data, deleting all the data that has not been used or has been used before. But now, deleting data is something that really, really need consideration. Why? Because there are some regulations that prevent us to delete data. Okay. For example, for taxation purposes in Indonesia, we are not allowed to, we should, or we have to keep our financial data, regardless your personal or organizational tax. We need to keep our financial record for at least 10 years for taxation purposes. So for example, if I receive my salary this year and I receive the the proof or the proof, the paper saying that Atma Jaya already deduct my tax and pay that to the government, I have to keep that document for 10 years, so until 2032. If I want to destroy that document, I could do it on on March 6, 2032, not before that. In business, deleting data is also something that uncommon these days. Okay, one of the reasons is because the price of computer storage is actually always decreasing. It's cheaper and cheaper. Okay, you can get bigger computer storage with the same price like last year. Okay, and a lot of companies, like social media companies, they actually never deleted your data. Okay. So, for example, if you post something in Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok, and later you regret your posting, and for some reason you want to take it out, you can delete that post, assuming that nobody else already seen it or copied it. But what happened behind the scene was your post was not actually being deleted. The company just, the system in that company just put a mark that this should not be displayed. So, for example, if you upload a picture on Instagram and you delete it, Instagram doesn't really delete that picture. They just mark it with the mark that do not display this picture. And then they move that picture from your account to somewhere else. So it's not really disappear. Why? Because that's the regulation in the US. Okay, 10 years ago, at the same time as I was suspected to have a heart attack, I was making like social media, but for photography, related social media application. And if so in that application, user can upload of pictures. It can get commented, it can get score from customer. So before like and dislike in YouTube or Instagram, I already applied that. Okay? So they will get a point, and the highest point will get the photo of the day, or photo, the best photo according to editors, things like that. Okay. Anyway, some users probably want to delete it. So what happened was, my application will mark these pictures, this photo, as now not for display, and then move that picture to another storage. Okay. Why? Because that's the regulation. If for some strange reason that picture was actually evidence of a criminal case or any other legal case, the law enforcement agency, either the police, the district attorney, state attorney, or even the court, could ask for us, the company, to present that evidence to the court, and we have to comply with that. Otherwise, we will be in trouble. Okay. The same goes to the company, to social media company in the US. So again, like I think it's older than 10 years ago, but 12 or 13 years ago. After I explained this in my class, the same accounting information system class. After the class, there was two female students approached me. One of them actually asking how to delete a picture on Twitter. And I said to her, it's easy. Just go to the pictures that you uploaded, select delete, that's it. But then she said that the picture was actually posted by somebody else on Twitter. And she wants that to be, deleted. I get the sense of what kind of pictures that this female student had. I didn't have heart to ask, but you probably could guess what kind of picture. She said that those particular picture was never leaving her laptop, but for some reason somebody else get that pictures and posted on Twitter. And I said, well, you can report that to Twitter, ask the Twitter to take it down. She did. Twitter said nothing, and I said, yeah, probably because we are nobody, and if we are nobody, Twitter would pay attention. And I told her, well, you can ask the account holder to delete it for you. But there is a danger, there is a possibility that somebody else that saw the picture already make a screenshot or, save that picture, and then it will be all over the internet. Okay. So let be that a lesson for you. Okay. If you just post, this is my hobby actually. I post pictures on my social media, but mostly about food or coffee or something silly, that make laugh, but never something that I will regret in the futures. I'm old enough to be sure that something that I post I will not regret everything that I post on social media in the future. But for you, you need to consider that. Okay. Who knows? Maybe a few years in the future, you were in, political race to be the next president of Indonesia, and some stupid social media post immediately appears, that you made when you were young and stupid, and that can be used to against you in political situation. Yeah, so be careful with that. Yeah. But if you're comfortable with it, by all means, okay. Just think before you post something that you would regret in the future. Okay. Let's get back to this. Okay. The information output can be stored or can be seen online, on screen, or with sounds if it's audio files, or printed out, hard copy, document report. Yeah. But lately, especially the last 2 years, because of the pandemic, I started to see less and less report being printed out. Okay, only a handful of report that I received in the form of paper. More than 90% document that I received has been soft copy or online. Okay. Thanks to pandemic, I guess. Otherwise, my home will be full of paper. Okay. Well, we move to we move to enterprise resource planning system. If you remember, on our last lecture, I already explained that all those transactions in a company can be grouped into 5 different transaction cycles. Revenue cycles, when we deal with how the company gain revenue. Expenditure cycles, when we deal with how a company spend their money. Production cycles, this is for manufacturing company to create products to be sold. HR payroll, this is dealing with human resource, and also general ledger and reporting system that deal with financial report preparation. So with ERP, enterprise resource planning, all these cycles will be automated and also being integrated into a single software. If we talk about enterprise, we talk about the big companies with many divisions and many subsidiaries. Take examples like Pertamina. Pertamina have subsidiaries that exploring and exploiting oil sources. Finding new oil sources, drilling oil sources, and and getting oil from the earth. And there would be a subsidiary of Pertamina that process that oil into fuel. And there is a subsidiary of Pertamina Retail, that distribute that fuel to the customer. If you see the gas station, it's called the COCO. COCO means company owned, company operated. That's belong to Pertamina. Okay. So that kind of activity is enterprise. So Astra International, they have a assembly plant for cars and motorcycles. They have a service station for providing service for their products. They have companies that creating spare parts for the cars and motorcycle that they build and sold. They also have schools, a polytechnic that can create workers for that factory. They also have insurance company to insure the cars and motorcycle they sold. They also have a financial company to finance the purchase of cars and motorcycle by customers. So that's Astra. With integrated system like ERP, all the transaction will be managed centrally. Okay. For example, compiling data from all the gas stations, Pertamina will be able to tell how much fuel will be needed in the next month or the next week. Okay. Where, not only how much, but where. For example, later on when we have the annual culture of mudik, Pertamina will concentrate their fuel distribution on all the roads being traveled by traveler. Okay, they put more fuel into that area compared to the others. During Ramadan, okay, companies could concentrate their sales into area that celebrate Ramadan, things like that. Okay, and that could be an advantage. Okay. Somebody complaining, for example, about Toyota cars, Astra could immediately know and find out what was the problem. Is that the assembly plant that had problem, or is it the service, or is it the spare part? Then they can rectify the problem and solve the problem. Okay, we will discuss this more in the other subject, actually, management information system. So I'll stop there. However, ERP also have a disadvantage. First, it's very costly. It's very expensive. One of the most popular brand of ERP, it's called SAP from German. It's being used by Astra, Coca-Cola, Pertamina, Garuda in Indonesia. The license for that software costs 5 billion a year. Just the price of the software itself, 5 billion. That's not include the price of computers to run that software. And also you need, in order to implement ERP, you need a consultant. And that could be as much as 5 times more expensive than the license of the software. And it's quite complex. A lot of things need to be done. And it's quite time consuming. The first module or the first part of ERP that usually being implemented in Indonesia was a module called financial and accounting. And it could take about 18 months just to implement that module. Okay. So that's the advantage. Okay. That's it for our topic today. Any question? Okay. I already left. Let me check. An assignment for you. Okay. Okay. Oh, and thank you that you already submitting your group list, and it has been done quite perfect. I mean, I like it that just one of you compiling the list and send it at once. That's really a good job. Okay. So if you look at the Kuliah side, I already prepared the assignment. So for group, this is a group assignment. For each member, so 2 of you, you need to observe one small business or SME, small and medium enterprises, who run their business using the internet. It could be in the form of marketplace or social media, or they have their own website. Okay, whichever. Even as simple as TikTok or Instagram would suffice. Okay. Then from each small business that you observe, please describe how one business process, just one, either sales, purchase, orders, payment, etc., are run through the internet. I suspect that all of you, well, not all, majority of you will focus on sales. That's because if you don't know the owner of the business, that's the part that you can observe. Okay. Otherwise, for example, inventory, you have to go inside that company. And for that, you probably need somebody inside. So unless it's your own business, okay, I'll suspect that you will have observe the same transaction or process, which is sales, or even the logistic, sending the products to the customer, or payment, perhaps up to you. Each member of the group should observe different company or different business, but it does not necessarily in the same industry. So maybe one member will observe fashion retailer, the other will observe electronic store that sells television, for example. Okay. One see the culinary business, the other might see package or logistic business. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so describe your observation, and then as a group compare your observation and draw a conclusion. So it's just like narrative. Okay, you tell the story, you compare the story between among your group member, and then draw a conclusion. Okay. You need to mention the identity of small business that you observe. Okay. And also if there is a picture or diagram or whatever, I don't think video would be a good idea, but I'll leave it that to you. You may use that. Okay. So, and I give you 14 days. Sorry, 9 days to finish it, because if it's due on Monday, there will be only a very short time to do it. So I need you to do it properly. So I'll give you until March 14th to work on that assignment. Okay. Any question about this assignment? Is it clear? Okay, good. That's it then. That's it for our lecture today. And remember, on Monday, we will have online classes again. So you don't need to go to the campus, unfortunately. And see you on Monday. Have a good weekend.